Hello everyone. In this video, we will look at the common type of electrochemical cells and the idea of electrochemical phenomena in terms of how we can analyze spontaneous reactions happening around us. So every spontaneous reaction, we can think of it like an electrochemical cell, and we'll see that for spontaneous reactions, what we observe is del G will be negative, and hence accordingly if we think of it like an electrochemical cell, for them the E cell value is going to be positive. So we'll try to look at how we can visualize the common uh, no common reactions in terms of the electrochemical phenomena. So we'll start with the common type of electrochemical cells that we have. So generally when we look at electrochemical cells, we divide them into these two categories. One is what we call as primary cells and other is a secondary cell. Now sometimes we keep hearing this word a battery and a cell. Now battery is made up, generally the word battery, right, is used for combination of cells. If you are having a combination of cells, then a cell will have one set of electrodes, one cathode, one anode. If you are having combination of cells, then generally we will be calling it as a battery. That is the only difference between a cell and battery. A battery is designed to achieve some specific objective, like to have an higher value of voltage, or for a particular objective we will be designing a battery. So if you look at these electrochemical cells, we'll divide them into two categories. First is what we call as primary cells, and the other one is secondary cells. So what is the difference between primary cells and secondary cells? In primary cells, the cell reaction, because remember what is driving the E cell value, it is the cell reaction. The cell reaction occurs only once, and once the cell reaction is completed, then the battery becomes dead or the cell becomes dead, and this should happen over a period of time, and this particular cell cannot be used again. Like if you look at the normal dry cells and mercury cells, right, the ones that are used in watches, etc., they're all the examples of the primary cells. Like we use it once and then we throw it off, because once the lifetime is what we can probably call it as, once that is over, means the cell reaction is fully completed, or at least it is completed to almost near full value, then the cell can no longer work. So this is what we will be calling as the primary cells. Now what are the secondary cells? If you look at secondary cells, right, they can be recharged. What do you mean by recharging? If you pass current through the cell in the opposite direction, then the cell reaction can be reversed. Means, say for the working of the cell, at cathode there is a reaction happening, at anode there is another reaction happening. So during the recharging process, what is going to happen is we will pass current in the opposite direction. So cathode reaction will be reversed, anode reaction is also going to be reversed, and that is what we will be calling as recharging of the battery. And recharging, we will generally do it by using what? Passage of current. And once the battery is almost over, then we can recharge it again, we can recharge it. And this commonly we observe for the lead storage battery, the batteries that are used in vehicles, etc., and the batteries used in the inverters, all of them are what? Lead storage batteries. Even the nickel cadmium storage cell, right, that is also a secondary cell. So what is the difference between primary cells and secondary cells? Primary cells, we can just use it once and throw. Secondary cells can be recharged. So what is making secondary cells to be recharged? That particular cell reaction can be reversed by the passage of current in the opposite direction. Now if you look at dry cell particularly, which is an important primary cell, it is also known as Leclanché cell. So dry cell can be also called as what? Leclanché cell, named after the scientist. Now this is the cell that is used commonly in transistors and clocks. The question that we can expect on this particular area, the types of electrochemical cells, will be generally they will be asking about what is the name of the anode or what is the name of the cathode, or they will be asking about what is the electrolyte, or they will be asking what is the cell reaction. So these are the areas or any some particular conditions or applications. Like if you look at the dry cell, right, where is the dry cell mainly used? It is used in transistors and clocks. And the dry cell consists of a zinc container that will be acting as an anode. So we see that there is a zinc container, zinc cup container, that will be the anode part, and carbon graphite will be the cathode. So first we have to note it down. What is the anode for the dry cell? Anode is the zinc. And what is the cathode? Cathode is the carbon graphite. And the carbon graphite rod, we can see it here, the carbon graphite rod over here, this is surrounded by the powdered manganese dioxide and carbon. So this is surrounded by powdered manganese dioxide, MnO2, and carbon. Now the space between the two electrodes, right, the space is filled by a moist paste of ammonium chloride, which is NH4Cl, and zinc chloride. So the space between the two electrodes is filled by what? It is filled by the moist ammonium chloride and zinc chloride. Now we look at what is the cell reaction in case of a dry cell or a Leclanché cell. At anode, what is going to happen? Always oxidation. So anode is what? Zinc. So at the anode, zinc is undergoing oxidation. So zinc will be turning into zinc 2+. 2 electrons are released. At the cathode, the MnO2 will be reduced to MnOOH. Means in MnO2, the oxidation state of manganese is what? +4. In MnOOH, the oxidation state of manganese will be +3. So the element that is undergoing reduction is what? Manganese. So in the dry cell or Leclanché cell, zinc undergoes oxidation at the anode, and at cathode, manganese will undergo the reduction. Now we can see in this process what is also getting produced is ammonia. So at the cathode, the MnO2 will combine with NH4+ ions, ammonium ions, okay, and the product of this is ammonia. This ammonia will in turn form a complex with the zinc 2+, because zinc 2+ is getting formed at the anode, ammonia is getting formed at the cathode. So the ammonia will form a complex with the zinc 2+. And what is the complex? Zn NH3 4 times 2+. The complex has got 4 ammonia molecules attached to the zinc 2+ ions. And this hell, the near value of the potential is 1.5 volt. Okay. The dry cell, as we see it, is a primary cell. Means, once the reaction is completed, we cannot reuse this particular type of cell. The other type of primary cell that is common in specific applications where we look for very low values of current, like the hearing aids or the watches. For all these applications where we will require very low value of current, we will be using the mercury cell. And I'm sure you would have seen it. It will come like it will be like this small cylindrical kind of a thing of a very small height. You can see circular surface area will be there. The mercury cells are going to come in this particular type of common shape. So what are these mercury cells? And mercury cells, there is a specialty about the mercury cells. We'll talk about it. So mercury cells, they basically consist of zinc mercury amalgam as the anode. So look for it before we take a look at the cell, right? So first we'll have a cell can, that is the outer covering. Then we have an anode cap. So anode cap will be having inside it, there will be a zinc and mercury amalgam. So that is going to be the anode. And a paste of HgO and carbon is going to act as a cathode. So the anode and cathode, they are separated by a separator. We can see that the color of the separator is given as yellow here. And the cathode is consisting of what? It is consisting of HgO and carbon. The electrolyte in this particular cell, mercury cell, is potassium hydroxide and zinc oxide. What is the electrolyte here? In this case, potassium hydroxide and then zinc oxide. I'll tell you what is the importance of this mercury cell. At anode, what is there in the anode? Zinc mercury amalgam is the anode. So the zinc at the anode will undergo oxidation. It will undergo oxidation to form zinc 2 plus means it is going to form ZnO, means zinc oxidation state here is +2, and this is facilitated by the reaction of zinc with OH minus ions. It is reacting with 2 OH minus ions. Exactly, if you see the cathode, what is cathode? Cathode is consisting of HgO and carbon. So HgO at the cathode will react with the water produced, and this is basically reduction. It will absorb electrons. It is going to get reduced to mercury, and it is going to give back the 2 OH minus ions. So whatever the 2 OH minus ions taken for the reaction at the anode, the same 2 OH minus ions are given for the reaction at the cathode. So as a result of it, what we see is, if you look at the overall cell reaction rate, we'll see that in the overall cell reaction, the electrolyte does not feature. So if you look at the previous one, right, the overall cell reaction, the electrolyte does feature, because NH4 plus ions are coming from the electrolyte. But in this, right, the overall cell reaction, potassium hydroxide does not feature. We can see that the 2 OH minus ions here and 2 OH minus ions here, they both will be, whatever is taken is already given away. So as a result of it, what we see is, since the electrolyte is or the electrolyte amount is not disturbed, the mercury cell can maintain the cell potential almost constant. So throughout the working of the cell, we can see that the value of the cell potential will remain almost constant, and this will be nearly 1.35 volt. So this is the difference between the Leclanché cell or dry cell and then mercury cell. Mercury cell can maintain the potential difference almost constant because the electrolyte does not feature in the overall reaction. So whatever the electrolyte consumed in the anode part will be given back in the cathode reaction. So this is about the dry cell and mercury cell. And again I am reiterating, we have to look for questions on what is the anode, what is the cathode, what is the electrolyte, and some specific applications of them. Now we'll get into the secondary cells, and one of the very common secondary cells is the lead storage battery. Okay, so which is the one that is commonly used in automobiles and inverters. You would have seen that it's this big box kind of a thing. That is the lead storage battery. If you look at the inner view, this is how it is going to appear. So the lead storage battery, it will be consisting of lead anode. So the anodes are made up of what? Lead, and a grid of lead packed with lead oxide. We can see that there is a grid of lead packed with lead oxide. These grids are basically the cathode. So what is the anode? Lead is the anode. What is the cathode? A grid of lead packed with lead oxide is the cathode, and the electrolyte is 38% sulfuric acid solution. So these numbers are important. So electrolyte in the lead storage battery is what? 38% sulfuric acid solution. And if you look at what happens at the anode, what is going to happen? Anode, always there is going to be oxidation. What is the anode part here? Lead is the anode. So lead will react with sulfate ions from the electrolyte to form PbSO4. And at the cathode is what? Lead oxide. Lead oxide will combine with sulfate ions, and this is going to be giving PbSO4. So what we see is the overall reaction, right? Overall reaction will be what? PbS, that is the anode part, plus PbO2, that is the cathode part, plus 2H2SO4 gives rise to 2 PbSO4 and 2H2O. Now I want you to observe on one thing here, that in the overall cell reaction, the electrolyte does feature. So overall cell reaction, we can see that the electrolyte is getting consumed, and that is what is the difference between the lead storage battery and the mercury cell, because in the mercury cell reaction, overall cell reaction, electrolyte KOH does not feature, means this reaction is consuming the electrolyte. So if we pass current in the opposite direction, what is going to happen is the anode reaction will be reversed, cathode reaction will be also reversed, means at the anode what we see is Pb is going to be getting formed, at the cathode what we see is PbO2 is going to be getting formed, and we can again reuse the lead storage battery. So this is what is the working of an lead storage battery. And the other type of secondary cell is the nickel cadmium cell, and the advantage of this is got a little bit more longer life than the regular lead storage cell. But the other the con is that it is more expensive to manufacture. So lead storage batteries, they are widely used because they are inexpensive, but the nickel cadmium cells, they are basically expensive. So if you look at what is the construction of an nickel cadmium cell, what we have is the cadmium will be acting as anode. So cadmium will be acting as an anode, and nickel trioxide will be acting as an cathode. So cadmium will be acting as an anode, nickel trioxide will be acting as an cathode. So if you look at the overall cell reaction rate, cadmium is undergoing oxidation. Cadmium is becoming what? It is becoming Cd2 plus. It is undergoing oxidation. Okay, and this is the oxidation part. And what is happening at the cathode? Cathode is nickel trioxide, NaOH thrice, is becoming NaOH twice. So nickel plus 3, it is becoming nickel plus 2. So nickel is undergoing reduction. That is why it is the cathode. So this is what is the nickel cadmium cell. So we have two types of the secondary cells. One is the lead storage battery, and second is the nickel cadmium cell. Nickel cadmium cell, what is the cathode? Cadmium is the what is the cathode? Cathode is nickel trioxide. What is the anode? Anode is the cadmium. So this is what is the